happy National Nutrition Month. My name is Juliana Blischak, and I'm a registered dietitian with Sodexo at University Hospitals.
I'm Anthony Verona. I'm the culinary director with UH with Sodexo. Welcome.
All right, so in today's cooking demonstration here at Dave's Market in Midtown, we are going to be talking about some very important vitamins and minerals: vitamin D, calcium, and iron. I'm really excited about this one because Chef Tony has put together some really nutritious recipes, a delicious Italian salad with homemade dressing, and an orange smoothie. So without further ado.
All right, so as Juliana said, we're gonna make an Italian chopped salad, and pretty simple ingredients, but there's a few tricks we're gonna use to elevate this salad, just to kick it up a little bit of a notch here. We're using a lot of fresh ingredients today. Some romaine, some fresh kale, some cherry tomatoes that we're gonna make a little bit different, some fresh mozzarella, fresh basil, red onions that again, we're gonna show you a little trick with that. And then some other ingredients. We're gonna make a dressing first. That's the most important thing with this. Let me turn this down a little bit. So dressing, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make our own Italian creamy dressing. But typically creamy dressings are high in fat. There's some mayonnaise and stuff in there. But we're gonna elevate this a little bit and make it creamy and delicious, but low in fats. And with that, we're gonna use some low fat yogurt. So let's get our little bowl here and a whisk. And what we're gonna do is make an emulsification. So what is an emulsification? That's the suspension of a liquid and oil. So how do we get that? And I'm gonna show you right now. A great measurement for emulsification is Dijon mustard. Now today, if you've seen our videos before, we make some substitutions, right? Today we were supposed to have baby kale. The baby kale was garbage, so we used this other kale. You don't have to use romaine. You could use a mesclun mix. You could use iceberg. You could use a ton of different lettuces. The only thing I'll suggest is with the lettuce is you need something a little bit hearty because we're gonna mix this all together. It's a chopped salad, okay? So I didn't eat Dijon mustard, I'll be honest with you. I opened up the cooler door at work. I couldn't find Dijon mustard. What I find, stone ground mustard, not a big deal. Nutritional value, no difference. So we're gonna put a little bit of mustard in our bowl, okay? Let me make sure I do everything right and look at my recipe. A little bit of garlic goes a long way. So I want to show you a little trick here. So here's a clove of garlic, pretty simple. I take this little stem piece off. And again, a lot of this recipe is a lot of hand skills, knife skills, different techniques. Nobody likes a dressing that you bite into a big piece of garlic, right? But the garlic is essential into making a great vinaigrette. So here's my garlic, and this is very simple. For this amount, we're making this for about 4 to 6 people. That's probably even a little much. I'm gonna take a little bit of that off. But real simple here. We don't want chunks of garlic. I just place my knife on top. I give it a little smash. See that? Now it's smashed. I take the edge of my knife and I just kind of macerate it a little bit. See what I did with that? It's basically disappeared. And look at that, now I have this kind of like puree. That's what I want, and that's all I need for this. So a neat little trick, you don't have to break out a mixer or a blender or anything. Just use what you have, and that's, right now, that's gonna be the back of my knife, okay? So there we go. Dijon or stone ground mustard, a little bit of garlic. We have some red wine vinegar, okay? And you notice what I'm putting in here first is all the liquid ingredients. We're gonna add our oil here in a little bit, okay? And remember, anytime with a vinaigrette, little lemon juice, you always want about 1/3 vinegar to 2/3 oil, okay? Now, so if you don't wanna follow the recipe anytime you make a vinaigrette, that's just a good practice, okay? Now we're gonna add, to make our creamy element, we're gonna add some low-fat yogurt. This is really gonna make it delicious. A little salt, that's pepper actually, and a little salt. Okay, what else do I have in there? Dijon garlic, fresh basil. I like to cut my basil pretty much fresh, right off the, don't pre-cut it. And really I'm just taking some stems off. I'm just rolling this up like a cigar, and I'm just gonna run my knife right through it. What I like to do is make these little ribbons, and then I kind of just turn the whole thing so I get a little bit of a dice. And that's it on the basil. Real simple. So what I have in there right now, I've got the vinegar, I've got salt, pepper, I've got garlic, I got mustard, I got my low-fat yogurt. Now I'm going to whisk this together a little bit. Okay. Now right now it's going to be very acidic. This is the part where we add our oil. I'm going to get my towel here just to help me facilitate make a little ring here. I put that down in there. Now I'm going to take my oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. Remember, I had a third vinegar, lemon juice, and now I'm just going to add about 2/3 of my olive oil. You see I'm drizzling it lightly, slowly, okay? Basically almost making a mayonnaise but without eggs, right? A mayonnaise is oil, eggs, lemon juice, but I'm emulsifying it. If you ever seen a dressing in the supermarket or you made a dressing and it's separated the oil from the vinegar, well, we're not going to have that here. This is going to be one solid dressing. And I don't know if Robert can see this. But we're going to show you that here, and it's all emulsified, and it's one beautiful creamy dressing, okay? We're going to give this a little taste. Needs just a tad bit more salt. And we're going to set that aside. That's ready to go. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, it smells good, and we haven't even cooked anything yet.
Nope, nope. So now let's prepare some of our ingredients for our chopped salad, okay? First of all, let me see, let's do our tomatoes, right? Typically on a chopped salad, you're going to get raw tomatoes. What I like to do is take my cherry tomatoes. They're still going to have a nice crunch to them, but we're going to blister them. We're going to get them a little kick it up a little bit, right? So what we're going to do is, and all this stuff has been washed. I got a, excuse me, I got a hot pan here, and I pretty want this pretty much screaming hot. As that's heating up, I'm going to show you what to do that here in a minute. What I have over here is a pickling liquid. Now I'm going to take a red onion. Part of the recipe has pickled red onions in it, okay? What is that? A quick pickle red onion. It's just that, it's a quick pickle. So in a pickle recipe, you typically have a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of water, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt. And that's what we have in here. And we also have a little bit of a clove of garlic as well in there. So as that's heating up this pan, I'm going to start making some of those pickled red onions. I have some made ahead of time, but I just wanted to show you how to make it. So I'm going to clean this off, get all the skin off. Okay. Have my bowl here. And I'm going to cut these red onions. Not super thin, but relatively thin. I do want some crunch to them, a little bit of texture. I'm only going to do a half an onion here because I just want to show you the technique, and I already have some made. So that's nice thickness is what we're looking for there. So I put them in my bowl, I separate them up. Again, we could use raw onions in our salad, but look, we're trying to kick this up, make it a little bit of chefy, and it's, excuse me, and it's not that difficult. All right, I got my, we're going to come back to that, I'm kind of doing a couple things at once. Here's my oil. You can see it's shimmering a little bit. I'm going to add my tomatoes. You can see right away I'm going to start getting some popping. I'm going to take a little bit of fresh basil, a little bit of salt and some pepper, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run my knife right through that real quick. I'm going to toss that in there, right? And you see what I'm getting here? I'm getting this blister effect. I shut it off. I'm going to put this right into the cooler. That's all I want. I just wanted to give it a little blister, have a little bit of olive oil on it, some salt and pepper, and a little bit of basil, and this is what you get here. They're still crunchy. They still got some texture, but they got a blistered skin, and they're going to be awesome, awesome in the salad, okay? Let's go back to our pickled red onions, okay? So I sliced the red onions. What I have over here, I have what they call a brine. 50% water, 50% red wine vinegar. I like to use red wine vinegar because it gives the onions a little red tint to it. If you use apple cider or a lighter vinegar, they come out a little pale. I have a little bit of garlic in there. I have some sugar and a little bit of salt. Just a very typical brine. And what I'm gonna do is put that hot liquid over the onions, cover these up, Excuse me. I'm gonna set these on the counter right over here and let them sit for about 10, 15 minutes. That's about it.
Wow.
And what you get here are some beautiful pickled red onions. So a little bit limp, but still have some crunch to it, and they have that beautiful pickled flavor, okay? So not that raw onion flavor, okay? So a couple different cool things that we added to our salad that are just gonna elevate it up a little bit, okay? So let's move on. So I got my big bowl here. Really, everything's cold. We really have no hot ingredients. There's no protein in here. All right, I'm gonna take my pre-cut or pre-washed that we washed earlier lettuce. And this is romaine. One cut right down the middle. I turn it over a quarter turn and right down the middle. And on the chopped salad, I like to go, this is what I'm looking for here in a chopped salad. Kind of this size, okay? Not, if I was making a regular salad, I might go like, you know, 1/2 inch by 1 inch, but I want to go a little bit. And we're going to use this lettuce right away. If I was going to cut this lettuce and store it, I'd probably wrap it up in some little bit of paper towel and store it that way. We're going to make enough for about 4 people here. The kale I've rinsed, I've washed, I've dried, and we're going to add our kale to this as well. So we're basically making our salad here. We got our dressing ready to go. Okay. And again, we're going to make this for about 4 people. Okay. Got my. Tell us about the cheese. Why did we pick cheese to put in here?
Sure. So we'll talk a little bit about calcium here, which, as we know, is essential for bone health, but it is the most abundant mineral in our bodies, so it does a lot more than just that. It's good for our muscles, hormones, nerves, blood vessels, lots of things. It's found naturally in some fish, some dairy products like cheese, and let's see, and the yogurt too in our dressing. As well as some vegetables like the cabbage and the kale that we're using today. It's also added to a lot of cereals, juices, tofu. And as you'll see throughout this talk, depending on the source of the vitamin or mineral, our bodies deal with them differently. So the calcium in spinach is not absorbed as easily as the calcium in milk, for example. But that's why it's just essential to get a wide variety of sources of calcium in your diet, especially if you don't do dairy.
All right, now, what I like to do, it says torn, in the recipe it talks about torn basil. I like to use the basil almost as another lettuce, almost as another green, right? Cool. So usually when you use herbs, you use it sparingly. But I like to really punch it up here and use a lot of fresh basil. So when you get a bite, you're almost going to get a little bit of, you know, more than just a flavor of basil, you're going to get a nice little hit of basil. So I'm just going to do a rough. And really that's what I want. I don't want to chop it up anymore. That basil goes in. It looks like a lot, and it is a lot, but it's going to add a ton of flavor, some good texture, and a good surprise in there when you're eating this chopped salad. Okay. When Juliana was talking, I put some shredded carrots in here. I put some chickpeas. We're gonna put some red cabbage in here for the color. I mean, red cabbage, these colored vegetables, again, I keep going back to you, but these colored vegetables, so much nutrition in it. Why is it red, and why is it so much better for you than other type of vegetable there, Juliana?
Right, so as dietitians, we always say to eat the rainbow, right? And white foods do have, you know, their own nutrients, but in general, the different colors each have their own nutrients. You know, orange fruit, orange vegetables, you're gonna get your beta carotene, different things like that that relate directly to the color of that vegetable, that product. So I always say, yeah, more color, hey, the better, and it's more beautiful to eat. Totally.
So let me just look at my recipe real quick. Pickled onions, the fresh mozzarella, we're gonna go here. We got garbanzo beans in there. Now we're gonna cut up this. Now what I like to do with the fresh mozzarella is just cut it up in a little bit of cubes. Remember, we're making this for about 4 to 6 people. And this would serve as an entree here. I want to just get these in a little bit of cubes. You can buy mozzarella in this kind of log like this. You can buy little, what they call ciliegini, which are little balls. You can buy it shredded. You can buy it in a ton of different ways. I like to buy it in this log form because now I can manipulate it the way I want, okay? Nice big chunks of fresh mozzarella in there. Might put actually just a little bit more on top when I'm done. Okay, look at this. And we're gonna plate this up family style. Put this over here. All right, now I got my dressing. Look, this is about 3/4 of a cup of dressing. We're probably gonna use this all. All right, first I wanna make sure, look at the colors in there. Oh, what did I miss? I don't see any red. Forgot my onion or my tomatoes. I'm gonna add my pickled red onions. Wow, I just kicked it up a notch here. And I'm gonna add some croutons, which aren't on the recipe, but we made some croutons earlier. Simple, cubed up bread, some extra virgin olive oil, some fresh herbs, salt and pepper, 350-degree oven, 15 minutes, boom, you got it. Here's my dressing. That's gonna be a perfect amount. Get all that goodness out of there. Remember, I tasted that dressing ahead of time, so I had enough salt in there. Other than that, I haven't added anything but fresh vegetables in here.
Wow.
You could put a piece of salmon on top of this, a piece of grilled chicken breast, a little bit of lean flank steak, anything, really, any type of protein. More beans, more garbanzo beans if you wanted to add more protein. You can see I'm folding this in, getting this well incorporated. I can tell you right now there's enough dressing, but what we want to do is give this just a little bit of a taste. Doesn't need anything. We're gonna plate this up. Wow, that basil is amazing. And you can see the ratio of ingredients, what I call guts, to the lettuce. There's a lot, right? It's probably 50-50 lettuce to other ingredients. Okay. That's probably enough for 3. I can't fit it all on there, but we're gonna do that. Set this aside. Look at that. Now that's a pile of food, what my wife calls pig out food. You can eat this all day long. I mean, I don't know how many calories are in there, but there's not a lot. And we're gonna take a little bit of basil. I'm gonna put this right on top or on the side.
Wow.
And I'm gonna put a little bit more cheese on top. Just some thin slices, because I think this is the star of the show, to be honest with you, in that dressing. A couple different sprinkles around. And lastly, what I like to do is hit it just a little bit of black pepper on top. And voila, there's my version of the Italian chopped salad.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll convince some salad haters out there that salad does not have to be boring. It can actually be super fun and exciting like this one. Really quick too, before you move on to the next recipe.
Go ahead, let me clean up a little bit.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into this salad here. So as Chef Tony mentioned earlier, we chose not to use meat in this one. We used the chickpeas for our protein instead. Now it's true that, you know, chicken, fish, beef, they contain what's called heme iron, that's H-E-M-E iron, which is absorbed into the body easier than the non-heme iron that's found in chickpeas and other plant sources of iron. But don't let that discourage you from including non-heme iron sources in your diet, like beans, chickpeas, spinach, some fortified cereals, that kind of thing, because they too are going to be beneficial for our blood. Now, if you want to increase the absorption of iron in your body, make sure to eat high iron foods with foods that are high in vitamin C, like the lemon in our salad dressing, for example. But on the other hand, calcium is actually going to interfere with the absorption of iron. So if you're really concerned about your iron, keep that in mind when you're meal planning, or even if you're following this recipe, you can switch it up a little bit to make sure you're absorbing your iron as best you can.
All right, so we're gonna make an orange smoothie, kind of like a creamsicle, okay? Today, they didn't have any frozen mangoes here, so I got frozen peaches. Again, if you've seen our videos before, we make some substitutions. Recipes are not the Bible, it's just a good suggestion. So I'm gonna grab my ingredients. Again, we're gonna use some low-fat yogurt, give it that creaminess. You know, typical smoothies, if you get them at you know, these smoothie shops, they have a lot of you know, maybe ice cream or other heavy sherbet or even full-fat yogurt in it. Well, we're going to use 1% milk. We're going to use low-fat yogurt, our peaches, and some oranges, okay? I got my blender here. So let me show you just a little bit of a trick that we're going to do. We want to add some good fresh orange flavor in here. So there's two things I'm going to do. One thing is I'm going to zest my orange to get a lot of flavor in there. So this is a zester or a microplane. You could use a box grater, the thin side, you could use a peeler, but we're just going to add a little bit of zest to it. We're going to make enough for about 2 people in here. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm just taking the skin off, not getting down to the white pulp because that can be a little bit bitter. And this is going to add a ton of flavor. There's a lot of oils in here as well, which all the flavor is. So this is really going to taste like a orangey kind of thing. So I'm going to put this zest right into my blender. And then I'm going to take this orange. I'm going to show you a little trick here. This is called to supreme an orange. We're going to take the ends off and we want to peel the skin off the orange. We've already utilized the zest portion, which is what we want to do. We're trying to utilize the whole orange. We're going to do this a couple times because we need a couple oranges. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking my knife and I'm just kind of going around, and I didn't lose that much. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of these. Again, this has been washed. Cut the ends off. Now I don't need the zest off of this one. I'm just going to go through here. I think we need about 3 of these. We're going to get the juice from here, but we're also going to get this pulp. And they're called Supremes. If you ever buy segmented oranges in the supermarket, I'm sure they have a machine to do this, but we're going to do this by hand, just show you real quick how easy it is. As we all know, oranges have these membranes in between it. And we're going to take the membrane out and use the little segments. Okay? All right, pretty good. Try to get all this white stuff off. Not bad. Push that aside. Take my paring knife and over a bowl, I'm going to go in between these segments, in between these little sections with my paring knife. Look what I get out. I get these beautiful little pieces. Now, this would be great to throw in, and you could throw it in that salad and it would be amazing. But if you ever make like a spinach salad with onions or something like that, this would be great in there as well. But I don't want to puree all this membrane into my smoothie, because then you'll get all these little pieces. But what I do want to do is take all my juice and squeeze that in there. Let's do this again. So I don't know if the camera can catch this very well, but we're going to supreme these out or get these little orange segments. If you ever have those mandarin oranges, which are done with smaller oranges, I'd really like to see the machine that does that.
Huh, I didn't know there was a word for that. Supreme.
Yep, French term. So again, we're gonna squeeze out this juice. So really that's all that's left in these oranges is just a little bit of the pulp, but mostly the membrane.
Oh, that's great. use as much as you can, less food waste.
Yeah. Almost done here. Okay. Yeah. Look at that. That's all good juice. All right. So let's use our peaches, I said. Okay. A little bit of the milk. You don't need a lot. Some of my low-fat yogurt. And then all my orange segments.
Ooh.
And this is really what's going to give it a nice chilled and smooth consistency. A couple scoops of ice. I like to put this on high. Looks like a creamsicle already. Okay. That happens. We're really cooking here. All right. Beautiful. All right, that's a big portion. And then I'm going to take a little bit of an orange segment. Boom.
Gorgeous.
Creamsicle smoothie with low-fat yogurt, some orange, and a little bit of peach. And I made a mess. But like I said, we're really cooking here. We're not going to edit that out maybe. I'm not really sure, but it happens, right? We're all a big family at UH. I don't think this is going on the Food Network, but maybe someday they'd probably edit that out. But those are my recipes.
I'm just glad I'm not the one cooking in front of everybody because there'd be a lot more mess.
That wasn't too bad for a
No.
20, 30-minute segment, right?
I'd say. So really quick, before we wrap it up here, we haven't really touched yet on vitamin D. We did have some milk in our smoothie, so I'm gonna segue into that real quick. So people are always talking about vitamin D, right? I mean, and for good reason. It's good for inflammation, it helps our cells, our immunity, as well as our bones because it promotes the absorption of calcium. See how everything works together? So we can get it from the sun, and then unfortunately it's not found naturally in a lot of foods. You can get it from fatty fish, you know, a little bit from cheese, a little bit from egg yolk, some mushrooms, that kind of thing. But most of the vitamin D that we get is actually added into our foods like milk or plant-based milk, and other products, you know, cereals, juices, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for vitamin D, and you live in Northeast Ohio, you might want to just check the back of your products to make sure that that does have vitamin D added because not all do. So we hope you have learned something today. We've covered a lot. Yeah, and try these recipes.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Yep, hope you make it. Take care.